They talking wild, but I'm still holding ground. Mud in my veins, let the trunk shake the town. Third coast born, truth spilling out of my soul. Bump this for the real, let the rhythm take hold. A Machiavelli production. What's Gucci, my ninjas? Fuck all these clowns tryna be like me, I'm the fucking blueprint. They capping wanna be, speed of thought. I'm flowing like a river, can't you see? With each line I spit, they dreams start to flee. I'm the fire, they're the smoke blowing in the breeze. They wanna step like me, spit like me, drip like me, flex like me, but they ain't shit, they'll never fucking be like me. I'm the king of this block, got the crown, I'm the one. They study my moves, tryna steal what I've done, but I switch it up, got a new trick like shadows and awe. Marvel at the glow, I radiate, ever-changing hues, I illuminate. They wanna step like me, spit like me, drip like me, flex like me, but they can't see, they'll never be me. They just wanna be I'm like the flavor in your trap, fit you wanna cop, but you can't get close. My vibe, my fucking pop, I'm the one they respect, the one they wanna be, but they're just chasing clout. Fuck your fake drip, step back, I'm the real deal. In this hood I kill, keep it 100. You can't match this flow, you ain't got the mojo. I'm the boss, the sauce, you're just part of the show.
And we're back again.
We are.
Well, I'm back again, but this time also with Brahma for another MADFAPpening.
I was with you all along. I just happened to be in the chat last time.
This is true. This is true. You had people over, not me.
Yeah, so I had an AirPod in my ear so that I didn't have to listen to them and I could listen to you.
Ooh, what a choice. Me rambling on about this gay dude being mad because it was mansplaining shit.
They think I was listening to a book.
Basically. I mean, you learn just as much. But no, this video I'm excited for you to see because I haven't finished it, but oh, is it good? It's so good. Do you know Wisecrack?
I think I've heard of them. I don't think I've ever.
Does this guy look familiar?
No.
Oh, okay. They have some of the best videos. This is the same dude that failed a online course on socialism from I forgot what university. I think it's a Christian university online thing. Even though he has a doctorate in socialism and also taught at a university socialism, and he failed, and he was like, I got to make a video to tell everybody why they're wrong and I'm right.
Was it like because it was a Christian university, so they were saying socialism bad, but he's like, no, I failed because socialism great.
Basically, I didn't even get to finish the video. I was doing it. I was madfapping it with Literature Devil and a couple other guys, and we did not. We got like 3 minutes in and already spent 2 hours. That's how bad it was. But yeah. So he's this is some classic stuff. But this one is called Americans Invented a New Christianity and why that's terrifying.
I mean, they kind of did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, when Mormons consider themselves Christians.
Yeah, but Americans didn't invent that. Americans did everything they could to get rid of the Mormons. You ever heard of the wars in Utah?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't finish the show. What was the show that was just out that was
it's so good, dude. American Primeval.
Yeah, I think I got through 4 episodes and then just fell off. I don't know if it fell off. I fell off of watching it.
No. I really dug that show a lot. I'm a big Taylor Kicks fan to begin with. Yeah, it was a great show. I had a professor once say She referred to Mormons as the cult that made it.
I would agree because, yeah, Christians. Speaking for myself and almost every Christian I've ever met, yeah, we don't consider Mormons Christians in any way, but they consider themselves Christians.
Invented 500 new Christianities. It feels like it sometimes, doesn't it?
Well, ultimately, it comes down to like Protestants and Catholics, but there's a whole bunch of variations in between.
Yeah. You have a bunch of denominations within the Protestant. Yeah.
And a lot of Christians also don't really agree that Catholics are Christians. I mean, but that's a whole different argument.
True.
And one that I somewhat agree with and somewhat disagree with. I don't know.
Well, before we get into that, I think we need to save all that for this guy.
Yeah, see what this guy says.
Just let me know when you want me to pause it.
Donald Trump is the most Christian president in American history.
Say what?
Donald Trump is the most Christian president in history?
So for gay marriage, really doesn't have that big of a problem with abortion, but takes the side of anti-abortion. And he's the most Christian president. Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's the most populist.
Let's see
you
what...
said pause anytime he says something stupid.
5 seconds in, baby. Let's see how he justifies it.
Work with me here. Because both times that he was elected, evangelical Christians were one of his most influential and supportive voting blocs. And he hasn't been shy about courting Christians.
God spared my life for a reason.
Where's the lie?
I think he probably does feel that way after the assassination attempt, but the logical argument that he's trying, or illogical argument that he's trying to make, is that because a whole bunch of evangelical Christians
support
follow
him,
Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like when they tried to, in his first election, tie him with David Duke, just because David Duke endorsed him from the KKK.
Hey, Jenna.
Does not make Donald Trump a member of the KKK.
He's held a Bible multiple times, I think, mostly in ads.
Well, he held the Bible outside of that church that got firebombed by all the leftist psychopaths during the George Floyd riots.
He held his own Bible that he was selling there for a while.
He does have a Bible that he sells, yes.
But who doesn't have their own Bible?
Well, not one that I actually mass produced, but I...
To a large extent, he's delivered on the promises that he made to his evangelical base. He helped end Roe. He let religious organizations avoid the Affordable Care Act's contraception requirements. And of course, he's systematically wiping out any mention of trans folks, a favorite cudgel of many evangelicals. And to top it off, he signed an executive order declaring an end to anti-Christian bias. Because of course, when you think of the most persecuted religious group in the U.S., evangelical Christians really leap to mind. Now,
yes. Straight Christian white male at the bottom of the intersectionality pyramid at the moment.
Nice. Is this Bible gold? I don't know if... Is it golden?
It's probably got gold leaf.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Oh,
but also, there is an argument that ending Roe has actually been worse for the anti-abortion movement.
Well, it needed to be. It needed to be.
It needed to be returned to the states.
Yeah.
Yes. But there is an argument that just overturning Roe without replacing it with something else is actually harming the pro-life movement, because there are now more states, even red states, making laws that are allowing abortion. So, I mean, I don't know that argument really works for this guy.
Well, I certainly don't want to get into an abortion conversation tonight.
Well, then, why did we bring up well, he brought it up.
Yeah.
Trump and Christianity have always seemed like an odd partnership.
An Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal.
Jesus constantly talked about loving your enemies, supporting the least of these, living in a way filled with love.
Sell all your belongings and give the money to the poor.
Mr. Trump was
If only that was the only thing he said, then you would have a point. If only there wasn't another part.
And if only there wasn't an Old Testament full of laws and structure for how a society should work, and, condemning a whole bunch of sodomy and blowing up cities for it.
If only. Well, yeah, but that was the way I look at it. Half being serious. The Old Testament is kind of like drunk, mad dad.
Fire and
Right?
brimstone God.
Yeah, yeah. And then the New Testament is Jesus coming in like, hey, just ease up, just a bit. Calm down, get the hair. Let me see if I can, if I could make a difference. If I could maybe, give the carrot instead of the stick after the stick after the stick. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I get it. But at the same time, it's the whole, there's a new covenant thing with Christ. It's like, yes, you can be forgiven for anything, but that doesn't erase what it was actually considered sin.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And they try to make it, well, Christ didn't say anything about this, so automatically that is, not sin because Christ never actually addressed it. And that's a crazy stance to take.
Affairs and shady business deals doesn't exactly scream Christian values.
Is she your wife? You know what? I would say she's a beautiful woman, but if I did say that, my political career, you're not allowed to say that.
The very mention of
I'm
things
sorry,
like love.
wasn't it he that just attributed Trump as the most Christian president?
Right, but I think he's building up to how insane it is for him to be the most Christian president because look at all these things that he does that is not Christian-like.
But that was his assertion, not anybody else's. So he's going to argue against himself for the rest of the time?
And mercy seem to make him squirm.
They may not be citizens
Okay.
or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
His problem was not with mercy and grace being preached. It was everything else this cuckoo banana lady was saying up there.
Right. And the fact that she decided to just grandstand from
Yes.
leftist views
Yes.
because she happened to have him there. You know who else was there? I mean, you've got all these people pictured, and then Michael Knowles, noted Catholic from the Daily Wire, was also there just looking at her like, what the hell are you talking about, lady?
So how has he become a hero, even a leader for American Christians? Well, there's two people who can help us explain the rise of Trump and Christianity. One is Friedrich Nietzsche. The other
I
is
doubt it.
Paula White.
I had a feeling that he's gonna like what the Yahtzees did. He's gonna take Nietzsche. He's gonna twist and turn and mutate it into something that he didn't actually say or meant.
I know you do like to quote him quite often.
Nietzsche's
You haven't heard
legit.
of her. Just wait. She's more fun than a
And-
barrel of monkey.
If that's a female pastor, we've got a pretty big problem with that too.
Okay, let's
Just from the jump.
start by clarifying which brand of Christians have anointed Trump as the second coming. Now, some of his most vocal supporters have been Christian nationalists, and specifically white Christian nationalists. And it's easy to listen to the news
Did he
and
just
feel like
put the H in white? White.
I believe he
White
did.
Christian nationalists.
these white Christian nationalists are some shadowy conspiratorial society threatening our democracy's very existence. Well, you wouldn't be totally wrong to think that, but Christian nationalism itself is a sort of debatable moniker. Researchers tend to disagree about what Christian nationalism
I'll be honest, I don't know who they are.
Yeah. It's never cited. It's just, people agree that most of these people didn't agree.
Yes, Nietzsche's sister did push all that BS out.
What, the
Yeah.
Nazism?
Oh yeah. She was a big fan. He wasn't. But when he
I'm
died,
not that familiar with Nietzsche.
yeah, when he died, the sister took his work and twisted it into being to try to justify the Nazi movement.
Chat, you would not believe how many times Mad has quoted Nietzsche on a stream, like on a comics division stream, and then in the background texts me and goes, "How did you not react to that?" And it's like, I don't know anything about Nietzsche, and
That's
you
never
expect
happened.
me to know every one of the quotes
Well,
that
I'll
you
say
bring up
something.
from him.
It's not just you; it's all of them. I get nothing.
even is, or the
Apparently,
degree to
you're
which it
more
functions as a
well read.
Yeah.
coherent ideology. In fact, a report published by the Pew Research Foundation in January wrote that there is no universally accepted definition of religious nationalism.
But yet, these are the ones that are mostly supporting him, as you
It
said.
makes it hard to have a clear definition of what makes someone a Christian nationalist. But
It
they
does.
elaborate that in order to be defined as a Christian nationalist, you would have to agree with 4 principles.
All right,
The
here we
first
go.
is that
It's
Okay.
time to see if we are Christian nationalists.
being a Christian
It's also
is very
time
important
to
to being
see if we have the same definition of nationalism, because most like, have you ever watched any of the videos from like people from Britain and people from Spain, looking at American, things that are common in America? And like, our nationalism is a lot different than everybody else. Like, they're like, why does everybody have a freaking flag in America? What makes somebody do that? Like, national pride in America is a different thing than it seems to be in a lot of other countries.
True. But then again, if you were somewhere else, why would you be proud of it? Gross.
Exactly.
Truly American. And it is very important that the U.S. president share their beliefs, and the Bible should have at least some influence over U.S. laws. And when the Bible conflicts with the will of the people, the Bible should have more influence. Pew found.
Okay, good
All
news.
right.
I don't think I am.
Let's go back to the beginning, though. Where do so common law comes from Britain,
Right,
directly to us, which came from the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire, which actually ended up, rising out of the Israelites. The Bible outlines most of common law. That's what got adopted.
right.
So, yeah, if you're basing your country on common law and a constitution, then it would make sense that the thing that started common law would have some say in what common law is.
Agreed.
Found that by these measures, just 6% of U.S. adults consider themselves Christian nationalists. And we can take this in two ways, right? Either
As what it said, there's only 6%, so everything that you're saying about them being the big backers of Trump is nonsense, or
so maybe
Right.
there aren't actually many Christian nationalists, or might be a lot of folks practicing a type of faith that's in line with nationalism, even if they're not consciously aware of it.
okay, so we're not aware that we are white.
It's a subconscious
Christian.
belief that we just don't know about.
We
Like all of our racism and fascism.
True.
Over this election. Jesus is Lord.
And while there's a lot to unpack in that list, nothing
Well, at least he
here
didn't
is
say Christ is king, right?
all that
True.
different than what the old
That would be
moral
anti-Semitic.
majority or Christian right has stood for decades, back when Billy Graham was praying on the White House lawn. Now, evangelical Christians have preferred candidates that reflect biblical values, like an emphasis on family values, opposition to abortion and gay rights, and support for prayer in schools. So
Let's
Yes,
look at this from the opposite side, where
I was about to do the same thing.
yeah, people without those biblical values have turned this into a massive shithole where anything goes at all times.
Right, I mean, it's just funny that he's talking about a group of a group of voters who are looking for their values and what they hold to be the utmost importance in their candidates. It's weird,
Yes, it's
right?
absolutely insane to think that you might want a candidate that
Insane.
reflects your values and thoughts and moral system.
Who would ever say such a thing?
Christians say the Bible is so important to them, then why did they help elect a guy who's more interested in it as a prop rather than as a sacred text?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
In the 1960s, sociologists
Oh man, if only we could think of someone in the Bible who wasn't perfect, who was a flawed human that may have became the king of all of God's people.
There's multiple.
Oh,
mean-
let's call him David. Let's say this David character.
Yeah, we'll call him. Yeah, I mean, decides to peep on some chick taking a bath on top of her terrace and says, "Ooh, I kind of like that. I'd like to send her husband, who is one of my generals, into the front line so that he gets killed, so that I can then have a affair with her."
We can't either. That's why we're having to make up this David character.
Yeah, or say Samson.
Ooh.
There's a few that had a few issues that God
Man,
did some work
imagine
through.
if there was a dude that persecuted Christians, right? We'll call him Saul. And then one day on the road,
He goes blind and a donkey starts talking to him, and then he says his name is Paul.
if only there was these examples of men being used for the greater good, even though they're flawed. Oh my gosh.
Also,
Robert
Matthew was a
Bella-
tax collector. He
True.
was the IRS. Taxation is theft.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he was a tax collector.
argued that much of the way Americans talk about their country echoes the way Christians talk about their faith, and he deems this worldview a civil religion. Now, America doesn't have an official religion, technically, but civil religion is infused with vibes and rituals of Christianity. So in this civil religion, we get sacred text like the Declaration of Independence, sacred symbols like the American flag, and
It feels like you're just
Glossing
pasting
over?
on. Well, you're pasting the term religion onto it. Like, well, it's not technically a religion, but if you look at it, it has a lot of characteristics that are religion-y or religion-like.
But he just glosses over the Declaration of Independence. Like, all of our rights are God-given is the reason that the government can't take those rights away from us.
Right.
That's the whole point, is that they're God-given. You can argue about what religion that is inspired from.
Well,
but
that's why they
I
kept
think
it.
we all know kind of which one most of the founders were kind of leaning towards,
Well, yes
whether
and
they
no.
actually came out and said it or not explicitly in the document.
Here's some interesting things I've read a while back. One of them was that, so they sent this priest or whatever when they were writing the Constitution and all that bullshit, right? And he would send letters back to.
Did you just call the Constitution all that bullshit?
Yeah, all that bullshit, right? And there was a lot in it. And anyway, and he would send letters back complaining how the founding fathers, they weren't praying before each meeting. And they weren't listening to him because he wanted it to be more religious and more like, oh, you got to worship God. If not, you're, and they wouldn't listen to him because they were like, yeah, we get it. They were just bros. That's what a lot of people forget about the founding fathers. They were just bros. They weren't wrapped up in religious ideology to the point to where the religious leaders wanted them to be.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah, and it's kind of like everybody complaining about like the Republican National Convention now. It's like, no, the Republican National Convention is not to preach to you. It is a political movement. It is to, try to get somebody elected from a political movement. They're not your pastor. Trump is not your pastor. Trump is not your friend.
Nope.
Trump is hopefully going to make the decisions that do best for you and your values.
It's important because that's how you keep people in check. If he was your friend or your religious leader, then you wouldn't be able to like, hold the fuck on, man. What are you doing with this? You know what I mean? With this thing, like if he does mess up, it's hard to push back on someone that you see as beyond approach.
Beyond reproach. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah, I mean the whole idea that there is almost a religious fervor around Trump, but it's not a religion. It's not a stay in line cult type situation. Right. Even though it's described as that quite often. The thing is, the guy's ideas reflect what populist ideals are. And if you're taking the 80-20 position on everything, then yeah, 80% of the people that are backing you are going to be like, yeah, I agree with them 100% on this. There's still going to be situations where you're not going to agree with them. And there's going to be situations where he's not going to take a firm stance because it's not an 80-20 position. It's a 50-50 position. And he's about populism over party.
And I'm totally cool with him not making those concrete decisions or whatever, to have some leeway to where if it's not working, he can actually pivot to another to make it better. You know what I mean?
And even though we're not getting into the abortion issue itself,
oh, here we go.
That's what he said during the election was, we sent it back to the states. That's all it needs to be. If you send something to me to sign on my desk that outlaws it completely, I'm probably not going to do it, because the only way to get elected is to not take a firm stance against something that 50% of the country does not believe in. I mean, a lot of Christians were very upset with that. A lot of realists look at it and say, yeah, you can't win an election taking hard stances on a 50-50 subject. You've got to take the good stance on the 80-20s, 70-30s.
Agreed.
sacred leaders like Abraham Lincoln and the founding fathers. But there's also a conception of America as the promised land, the establishment of a new social order that shall be a light unto all nations.
God spared my life for a reason, and that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness.
Now, Bella describes the civil religion as a genuine vehicle of national religious self-understanding. And indeed,
What does that even mean? What was that?
A vehicle.
Words.
describes the civil religion as a genuine
Sounds like
vehicle
Kamala.
of national religious self-understanding. And
A genuine vehicle.
Of national religious self-understanding.
self-understanding.
I'm not sure what he's trying to say there.
If only he would have included more of the context of.
And indeed, our political language is infused with this American exceptionalism that relies on God favoring the American people and the ostensible American way of life. To the degree civil religion has a God,
Did
it's
they
less
just
concerned
point out a conference that was sponsored by a Christian group and say that that means that it... Did you see the arrow pop up?
Hey, Sherry. Yes, I did. It was underneath what it said, religious something.
It said believers.
Oh, is that what it said?
Yeah.
the Sermon on the Mount.
Hold on, I'm trying to. What's the button to go forward? Or go back? Get a hair?
Isn't it just left arrow, right arrow?
No.
I don't know. I never control YouTube through my keyboard.
Oh, here it is, right there. It says believers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life. To the degree civil
Yeah, that could have been at a fucking Justin Bieber event. We don't know.
religion has a God, it's
Could have
less
been at the
concerned with
National Prayer
Sermon on the
Conference.
Could have been.
Mount and more concerned with the U.S. being a city on a hill, a shining beacon of prosperity and freedom. Now,
By the
in
way,
the decade
if you see anything in the chat that needs to be highlighted, can you do that? Because I'm on a different tab with the video.
Yeah.
since Bella's article, and as Christian leaders have sought more influence in politics, you could argue that civil religion has become more religious while Christianity has become more civil or political. In the 2000s, when the culture started
No,
shifting
Christianity has become more secular because we have eroded the moral guidelines that once were part of this country, and religion has been eroded as well.
Hmm.
left, we saw expanded rights granted to the LGBTQ community, women's health care, and minorities. Christian leaders began to describe this as an affront to God.
Oh,
a
the
symptom-
women's health care BS.
Yeah. It's
There
such
is nothing that is women's health care about just being able to have the right to have an abortion. Everything else, I mean, I'm so sick of the changing.
It's all
of the
branding.
language.
It's branding. It's
It's changing the language to fit what you want it to sound like instead of what is reality. And women's health care would be actual health care. It would not be the ability to destroy a fetus, if that's what you're going to call it.
Mm-hmm.
of America in decline. So when Trump uses rhetoric about anti-Christian bias and Christians claim that their religious freedom is under attack, well, it's likely not their faith, but the civil expression of that faith that they see as under attack. But you know who saw all of this coming? Your friend and mine, Friedrich Nietzsche, who compares
Here we go.
Christianity to a slave morality defined by its resentment, which is a type of resentment. In The Genealogy of Morals, Nietzsche describes a noble morality and a slave morality. And he says the slave morality is based on the idea of no. He calls no the creative deed and goes on to say, in order to exist, slave morality always first needs a hostile external world. It needs, physiologically speaking, external stimuli in order to act at all. Its action.
Okay, so he's already wrong about a couple of things. It wasn't noble morality and a slave morality. It's the slave morality and the master morality. And basically, and by the way, this applies far more to the left movement than it does Christians, because basically the slave morality is that they're the oppressed. They look at morality with like humility, compassion, and weakness, right? And it goes against the master morality, which would be strength, ambition, and power. And the critique was nothing to do with Christianity. What he was thriving for was a blend of the two, to where we no longer demonize those that have strength and ambition and power, such as, I don't know, Trump, right? But and so we don't demonize people that are getting shit done, but we also don't let people just be taken advantage of. So it was his thought was to to kind of merge those two to where there isn't that divide. This dude is so wrong is crazy.
Fundamentally
I also love
Now,
that
by a
he was
certain-
like, it's resentment, which is a form of resentment, and we pop on a definition that is on there for maybe half of a second, so you
Yeah.
can't actually see what the definition that he's going by is.
I love when they try to appropriate Nietzsche. I'll give him credit for pronouncing the name correctly, because most would
Well,
go
that's
with Nietzsche.
That's kind of like Sentient's statement from earlier. I love hearing about Christian values from
Yeah,
shitlibs
exactly.
who don't hold them.
Yeah, slave morality is leftist morality. Absolutely, 100%. Yes, but I guess he doesn't see that.
In
way.
its own victimization, Christianity establishes the grounds of its existence, which breeds a kind of anger and resentment, and then wields that anger as a tool for power. And when you're a religion,
You literally could just switch his idea of Christians with leftists.
Not even just leftists, just any group of leftists.
Yeah.
The alphabet mafia,
Yes,
those who
any of
want
them.
abortion, those who, any segment of the leftists, you could say the exact same thing. They want somebody, or they try to wield their power in a way to get somebody who agrees with them into power.
Absolutely.
That is all that politics is.
And
you're trying to get somebody into power who agrees with you.
And that's why they get mad when they say, "Well, the problem with the Democrats isn't that they went too far left. They didn't go far enough." Yeah.
But it's also like every time there's a Supreme Court justice spot that opens up until Roe versus Wade was overturned, there was a freaking litmus test for those on the right who were being, sent into the Senate to be confirmed. It's like, would you ever overturn Roe versus Wade? It's like, and they have to sidestep it and be like, I believe in precedent. It's like anybody on the left would be like, yeah, I believe in abortion for anything, abortion at all times. That's my thoughts. But on the right, you have to say, I believe in precedent. And it's like the double standard between the left and the right on things like that, where it's like, the right is not allowed to try to put into power somebody who might actually stick up for the right in the mind of all of the left. But anytime the left does it, that is automatically, well, I mean, that's the majority of the country. I mean, we all know it's the majority. So, we should hold the right to a different standard at all times.
a political party identified by what you're against, it becomes really hard to shed that vibe when you actually win. And we can see this in how the current Republican Party behaves. Like, they're the party in power, and you get scenes like this one.
Can't trust the government anymore.
Having access to personal data.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You are the government.
And of course, there's the reactions to
That's such a misleading. So what he's trying to say is like, see, they're still acting the victim, even though they are the government. It's no, dum-dum. It's because of the bureaucrats, the career-long bureaucrats that they have no control over, that can just do whatever the fuck they want to. That when they speak of the government and can't be trusted, that is who they're speaking about.
The bureaucracy that is unelected, that actually does the day-to-day business of the government, is the problem.
Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, which spun conservatives into a rage because they might.
It spun them into bizarre decisions by the NFL to have some guy come out and lethargically mumble a bunch of songs that 90% of the NFL audience has never heard. What did he say? It
spun us into a fury.
Having access to personal data.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You are the government.
And of course, there's the reactions to Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, which spun conservatives into a rage because they might have power, but they're still not very cool.
What Matt Walsh said was not just an out, like he wasn't raging about it. And I agree with him. I couldn't understand what the lyrics even were. The sound department failed Kendrick Lamar. And I like some of Kendrick Lamar's stuff. I think he has some really good bangers, DNA.
Right, you actually listened to his music and you still couldn't understand him.
Yeah.
Imagine the rest of us that don't even like that style of music. It was nonsensical.
Yes.
Political rhetoric in the US has always had echoes of civil religion, but this turn towards resentment has been brewing since the civil rights movement. Now, Christian leaders like Jerry Falwell spoke out against the Civil Rights Act of 1964, claiming that it was a violation of human and private property rights. In the mid-2000s, the idea that gay marriage could become legalized or that a healthcare law may contain a mandate to cover contraceptives all became
all right. There is a lot there.
Yeah. The Hobby Lobby thing. It's
Yeah,
hold on. I want you to
there's-
hear what he says next.
to claim that
Okay.
their religious freedom was under threat. Because if I'm an evangelical Christian and someone uses birth control 100 miles away, my soul dies. This
That
That
is not
wasn't
the
the-
argument at all.
No,
The
no.
argument is you being forced to pay for things that are against your religious values.
Yes.
And it is not a right to have a job with a specific company.
Nope.
A specific company can have values and hire or offer benefits based upon their specific values. What was the other thing he brought up? Because like the cake maker in Colorado, the
It's a
dude
strong
offered
man
them
going
any
hard.
cake in the place. The dude offered them any cake in the place. He said, I'm not going to make a custom cake for you. That is not declining service. That's saying, I'm not going to go out of my way to violate my religious principles for you. You can have any other cake. They're already made. Have one. Buy it. That's not declining service. This argument is, what, 20 years old now?
Yes.
And then they brought up the whole thing with gay marriage. It is a slippery slope. We called it back then. We're on the downside of the slippery slope right now, where, there's no problem with, the fans of the playground. They're trying to normalize that. They're trying to normalize everything. They're trying to, the whole transgender issue with, schools. And
Well, we're seeing a snapback
why
now.
do we need, transgender people and what are they called? The
Drag queens?
drag queens. Why is it that they feel such a need to go read to kids all the time? What possible purpose is there that they just feel such a consuming need to be around kids at all times?
I hate to be that guy that pushed back on this, but you may not know this, but drag queens are always reading books to the elderly and always reading books to biker gangs. Wait, no, they're not. Hold on.
No.
Damn. I guess I don't have any pushback. That is weird, huh? That they are only choosing to do these these readings to
I
kids
have to
and
dance
not
half
the elderly.
naked in front of all ages instead of just in an adult situation where it might, in some
shocked.
people's minds, be appropriate.
I'm shocked they never thought of doing it at old folk homes as a cover. Like, well, we do it for other groups too, but they never did it because it was never even they never even considered it.
Yeah,
because all they wanted to do was read it to children. Ugh.
Yeah, it's just so weird. But every one of the arguments he just made is absolutely ridiculous on its face.
Apology is all exemplified in things like the God's Not Dead series of movies. If you're a sicko like me and you want to know more about them, we've made videos on all of those movies.
I never
You
saw
can
those
check them out.
movies.
But this all adds up to the
It's
idea.
Kevin Sorbo and like Kirk Cameron type movies.
Oh boy.
Even Christians don't like Kirk Cameron movies.
The Left
Kevin
Behind
Sorbo
movies?
is not Kevin Sorbo is not quite on that level. But even on the Christian panel, we've reviewed so many Christian movies. And the first thing we say is whether it's campy Christian crap or not, because we don't like it. I don't even like worship music.
Yeah. Well, no, I do. I like the old hymns, but
I like the hymns. I do not like modern worship music.
No, they peaked at DC Talk.
That's right. Jesus freak.
That's right.
That the real threat to humanity isn't climate change or, I don't know, nuclear apocalypse. It's the liberals. But how does this all explain Trump's...
Your argument's not good if you are going to make an argument that automatically excludes everybody from the other side. Because even if you weren't Christian or didn't believe Trump is doing a good thing, but you're going to attack immediately and be like, well, climate change is absolutely real. It's just ridiculous that people don't believe in it. It's like, you probably should have gone with another example rather than something like that where yeah, 50% of the country, again, does not think that it is real in the way that you guys do.
What's up, Soul Assassin? By the way, I'm so glad I waited to do this with until I had you on here, because I can hear the
You get a little bit of my Christian coming out and a little bit of my politics coming out in the
It's
same
such
video.
a great mix. It's such a great mix.
Rise to figurehead of this civil religion. Before we get into it, I need to tell you about something. Spam. Now, spam has taken over all of our lives. You know, all those constant calls about your card.
Mind you, this guy's a big socialist guy too.
Spam has not taken over my life. I just block all unknown numbers from actually ringing. It's pretty easy.
I don't
You don't
even
even
set
have
up
to
my
get this
voicemail.
stupid app that he's trying to sell us.
Data brokers and remove your information from their databases. And here's how it works, right? So you give Incogni permission to act on your behalf, and they go find those lists that you're on and demand you be taken off. I've started using Incogni a while back, and oh boy, am I already seeing the positive effects. They've already contacted hundreds of data brokers.
Blah 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 blah.
Literally less spam emails, text, and calls.
Man, it's a long ass
12-minute
ad.
video, and he's
Progress
doing a
Incogni
3-minute freaking ad in it. They say the Daily Wire's
Keep
bad.
an eye out throughout all remove subscription and get your
Jesus.
journal. Your data secure. Now,
That's a long
back
ass
to the show.
ad
Journalist Sarah
read.
Posner argues that this
Seriously.
resentment and erosion over America's decline as a moral leader hit its apex during Barack Obama's tenure as president. She writes that, primed by conspiracy theories about Obama's place of birth, his race, and his religion, from the outset, many in the movement were ready to believe.
Okay, no,
All right, yeah. Pause.
no one took he's the Antichrist. No one took those people seriously.
No.
And if they did, it's such a QAnon.
If they did, it's so far outside the mainstream, just
Yes.
like everything on the far left.
Yes.
But he was poised to eviscerate
But
their freedom.
no, hold on. I wasn't sure if you were going to say anything else.
Oh, go ahead.
So, place of birth, whatever. I still not sure on that part. His race, he's half white, half black, but he does not address his white side ever. And his religion, I'm pretty sure from the things that he said during all of that time, while claiming to be a Christian, was not Christian in any way. I mean, he went to the National Prayer Service and literally said Christians need to get off their high horse because of the Crusades. The Crusades were a pushback on Islam.
Yes.
He sided with Islam every chance he got.
Yes.
Why would nobody be questioning his religion?
But
Because
hey, Jane.
in Islam, you are allowed to lie as long as it is lying to the infidels to get them onto your side. That is a tenet of Islam. Hey, Jane.
Of him and her? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention at that point in politics, so I don't have.
Did
much
he
to
ever
say
claim
on-
to be anything other than black? He never.
I
You
don't
never see him claiming to
But
be mixed.
I wanted to address
race
this though
or anything like that.
about the I don't buy this guy's socialism. He has a PhD in socialism and taught it at a university. He also failed a class on socialism and communism, and he made a whole video about how he's right, they're wrong.
And crush Christianity. Every move as president, real and imagined, was fodder for these superstitions. Now, the most potent of these conspiracy theories that Obama was not
we talked
really
about the
American.
Hobby Lobby case and a few other things just in the few short seconds before he said that.
Well, I don't want to get bogged
And-
down into Obama's, because again, he's saying that Americans have invented the new Christianity, and I can't wait.
was
I'm
fittingly
still waiting
championed
to
by Trump.
figure
In
out what
him,
that
the
is.
Christian
He's
right found a
75% through the video.
I know it has to be any minute now that he's gonna come up with it.
forcefully voiced the same resentment as they did. You know, it doesn't hurt that Trump is famously resentful of anyone who doesn't agree with his views or that criticizes him publicly. His main driving force seems to be undermining or destroying anyone who personally offends him or opposes his policies or implicates him.
Except for when he then makes them his vice president. It's weird, right?
Yeah. So he's a New Yorker who will punch back, and then the second you actually bend the knee a little bit, he welcomes you back in arms wide open. He went after Ted Cruz. He went after Rubio. They all hated him.
Yeah.
About the only one who hasn't come around is McConnell, and I don't think they're ever going to get along. But half of his biggest enemies list from the Republican Party has come around, and he has embraced them fully.
Right, which is actually something you would think that would be a positive in his if you're trying to analyze him as a person, seeing
The
him
ability to forgive and forget.
Yeah.
Almost
crime.
seamlessly.
Almost Christ-like.
Christian leaders sort of found a kindred and kindredly resentful spirit in Trump. You know, when Trump talked about America in decline, Christian leaders agreed. And when Trump famously said
They weren't the only ones.
this in his convention,
I alone can fix it.
he tapped into the Christian desire for a savior who can deliver the chosen people from their suffering.
No, actually,
What's
we've
more-
seen so many politicians not do anything to try to fix it, and he actually has done things to try to fix it. I mean, literally everybody, even on the Democrat side, has said the border is an issue up until the last 4 years.
Yeah, maybe
You
a
can
little bit
go
longer
back
than
to
4.
video of everybody.
No.
Obama.
It's more than 4. It's 2016 when he started talking about his border wall, right? I'm going to build a wall. It's going to be the most beautiful wall you've ever seen. And then that's when the whole left was like, how dare you? There's no problem at the border. When right before that, they were like, we have a problem at the border.
Yeah.
Just
But
makes the people...
before Trump came out saying that and they turned around and hated him for it, the Democrats were saying the same thing. We have to get the border under control.
Yeah.
You can find video of every single one of them saying
Absolutely.
that was an issue.
But that all changed because now they have to be against whatever the other side is for.
Trump becomes not just a symbol for the Christian right, but he embraces their embrace of him. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't just accept it, he loves it. But there's
Oh my gosh. He loves that people love him. How dare he?
also
and dude
another
came
thing
within
that's-
a millimeter of having his head turned into a exploded watermelon. So I give him
Haven't
the
heard much
benefit
about
on
that
the
guy, huh?
doubt.
You think we would have learned more about whoever that person was that came within a millimeter of killing a president? You think we would know more about him than what we do?
Well, it's pretty hard to know a lot about him because they basically erased everything and, you know, burned his body within like 10 days so that there could not be a full report.
Oh, he hired
done on him.
Obama's border czar. I love this border guy, dude.
Holman is great.
Holman is he does not give a shit.
No, that guy doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He's just like, no, I don't care. Go, get out.
My favorite when he was like, but what about this separation? Well, they don't have to be separated. They can all go back together.
Yeah, they can go back, or they can leave the country too. We'll deport all of them.
That are truthful about their beliefs are Orthodox Marxists. Yeah, I think most of them use it as a vehicle for power.
going on here, and it's a shift within Christianity itself. To
Seriously, you
embrace
got
a
to
thing-
put Joel Osteen on the screen as an example of Christianity. Christians hate Joel Osteen.
Is he? I don't know anything about him. I know I can't like him, but
He's a prosperity pastor who basically says if you pray hard enough for you to be a millionaire, you will.
You got
Look at all my private jets, and by the way, I hide cash in the bathroom walls, and when major hurricanes strike, we're not going to house anybody in our freaking auditorium.
In the Astrodome. We don't have room, guys. We don't have room. But
Osteen is one of the most hated people.
Oh man,
or
but
one of the most
Brahma,
hated persons by the actual Christians.
Brahma, you don't understand though. You got to plant the seeds to see them grow, and that's where wealth comes from. Got to sow the seeds of prosperity.
I prefer fire and brimstone.
I
called
don't.
the
but
prosperity gospel.
We've
Now,
had
it
that
started
talk.
out as a fringe movement, has gone fully mainstream, with some studies pegging the number of Protestants who believe in this form of Christianity as high as 50%. It's even found its way into pop culture with books like The Secret. This is the belief that God wants you, yes you, to be wealthy, prosperous, and healthy. But theologically, it holds the notion that revelation supersedes things like facts and reason, and that one's authority is imbued with things like the supernatural powers to heal and even lift people out of poverty. So it's like cool if people get out of poverty if magic does it, but not if policy does it. I get it.
Who has ever said, like, no, let the poor be poor? We're Republicans.
I
don't
sure
think that's
we've said we don't believe in eternal safety nets, and you should probably at some point get a job and try to better yourself and your life.
These Christians that he has summoned, like he's created in his head that he is fighting against, I don't know how prevalent they are.
There's quite a few mega churches that are prosperity gospel, and they get called out constantly by everybody who actually considers themselves a Christian.
Right. But he blends
sure
that
there
in
are
with
a
all
ton.
these other aspects of what he hates, in that just there is a difference.
He's trying to make them the majority of Christianity.
Yes.
By saying, well, they're supporting Trump. And it's like, okay, even if they support Trump, you're not defining what actual Christianity is, because Christians don't define it as this.
This is why televangelists present themselves as anointed leaders who are modern day prophets and apostles.
Everybody loves televangelists, all of them.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, some people apparently do, because I don't think they're as popular now as they were. Like,
No,
I can't name any of them.
Kenneth Copeland,
Sure.
There are quite a few that took pretty hard falls because people figured out the grift.
I don't know what this means. Lonely here?
He's probably on your other channel.
Oh.
Which reminds me, everybody should be on Mad's new channel and sub. Because
Mad's new channel.
Mad's new channel is where Mad is trying to get to actually monetized, and we're doing all the new stuff. But we're keeping the old one up just to bring some of you guys in so that we can get you over to subscribe.
This is true. Let me see here, right here. Here we go. So on the old channel, I put a link to the new channel. Make sure you do that thing that you do.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Vibe, Donald Trump. Now, Posner describes how during his first campaign, Trump struck up a friendship with the televangelist and prosperity gospel preacher Paula White. Trump
Never heard
found
of
her
her.
messages of success
Neither have I.
healing, and in Trump, Paula White saw the fulfillment of everything the prosperity gospel preaches.
And every demonic altar that has been erected against him will be torn down.
So in Trump, we get this weird, powerful amount.
It's weird that he shows a clip of her not saying anything prosperity preaching. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And also, again, this will probably get me in trouble, but a lot of Christians don't believe that women are called to be pastors at all. At least head pastors. They can be, in some cases, deacons. They can be, in some cases, elders. But that is not the calling of women in the Christian church.
Not every year. That's not true. Where am I at? Here we go.
Amalgamation of different narratives of Christianity that carry echoes of civil religion, resentment, racism, and now the prosperity gospel. You know, who would have thought it would all come together like this? You know what? Trump friggin' loves it. In his embrace of Christianity and the prosperity gospel, he's become a
Oh, so now he is just straight up saying that he's embracing the prosperity gospel. Just outright.
Again, it's because somebody supports him, he must be conforming to them and and believe everything that they believe. Like I said earlier, you take the David Duke argument from 2016, and that falls straight out.
Jane's spitting truth in the chat as always.
I would agree, it's a special calling, but that special calling strictly says it's not supposed to be women.
Of everything the prosperity gospel believes. You know, he's rich, he demands absolute loyalty, and he promises that he alone can save us. He might have only recently
I love how whenever Trump said something, right, they take him at 100% on face value, right? But when other politicians, they'll say the left, Democrats, and when they say something like, well, what they really mean is this, you know what I mean? As if this isn't how politics works, as if he is not campaigning. When you campaign, are you going to say, now listen, there's a lot of people that can fix all these issues. In fact, I'm probably not even in the top 30% of people who would do a good job at this. Maybe, you know what I mean? I'm like in the bottom. If you had a list of the top 100 people who could take care of all these issues, I may make the 90th, but no, that's not how you, what is wrong with you?
And I also don't disagree with the loyalty test because, I mean, again, not a popular opinion probably, but when you're taking on a government that never wanted you to be a part of it because the bureaucracy is...
Are you still there?
4 years went. Are you asking me if I'm still here?
Yeah, you were breaking up for me.
You were breaking up for me, but hopefully we're both going out to everybody. I mean, you had 4 years where the government worked against him at every step. So, yeah, he probably wants people that are loyal to him and loyal to the vision he has for the country, because the bureaucracy, the FBI, you know, all the three-letter agencies, they all tried to destroy him both during his presidency and after his presidency. So I can see where he'd be a little bit cautious about who's being around him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want yes men. I want people that'll push back. And J.D. Vance has done that.
Yeah,
Elon Musk has done that. But at the same time, you want people who share the same vision as him.
Right.
Because that vision is what we're trying to push forward. It's not just Trump gets his way in every instance, but you can't have people that are actively working against him either.
By the way, so I'm digging the new avatar. That's slick, bro. Yep. Where was that? Here we go.
Claimed himself a king, but he's been giving off godlike vibes for a while. Posner writes that his pronouncements are not to be questioned, and his followers believe he will, supernaturally or otherwise, make America great again.
His followers believe he will supernaturally or otherwise. Who are these followers and who is this chick that he's quoting? Sarah Posner, unholy, how white Christian nationalists powered the Trump presidency and the devastating legacy they left behind. Also, by the way, remember that...
Meanwhile, 6%.
6%. Yep. I was about to say that.
We were on the same page on that. It was like, really? That's the 6% has this much power, which I can kind of understand because on the left, they've given, 0.4%, 100% of the power in their party.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works.
Posner writes that his pronouncements are not to be questioned, and his followers believe he will, supernaturally or otherwise, make America great again. They believe
I do a political show, and we have questioned him on a number of things, but we've also pointed out where when he is saying certain things, it is a negotiating position.
Yep.
Which the left does not seem to understand.
Well, because they take everything surface level, just like the video I did on the last stream about the Heretic movie, like all he could see was surface level shit.
To carry out this mission. He may not actually be a Christian, but God has chosen him to protect Christians and therefore America. When Christians are fed a message of constant suppression of free expression of religion, and then that gets combined with a figure who preys on the psychological persecution of those Christians, well, you get strange but oddly suitable bedfellows. That's all for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please.
He never gave me the answer to the new
What's the new religion? It's apparently Trump. Trumpism is the new religion that he's trying to name, but he never actually names it.
Oh,
also,
well, that makes sense then.
I don't understand how people like this can look at everything and be like, yeah, everybody who follows Trump is in a cult and a religion. And it's like, you guys literally have people that are firebombing Tesla stores and dealerships and attacking people who own Teslas because you have so much derangement syndrome, because a guy is trying to cut some of the government. The whole thing about dictatorships is they tend to consolidate power. They don't tend to try to get rid of levers of power and hand it back to the people. I mean, the whole idea of a dictatorship is that you consolidate power in yourself, not try to give things back to everybody else. absolutely insane to me that these people do not see. I'm sure I know they think the same thing about us because I look at a video like this and that's exactly what they're saying. But this is where I don't see where there's ever going to be a reconciliation. Because nobody's seeing the same world. And I think our side is seeing it with more realistic glasses because I can point out to the places where they all have so many double standards that there's no way that any of the people on their side can actually function together if you really dug down into it. Where our side basically just says, yeah, we would like freedom, we would like you to not kill babies, and we would like the government not to control every aspect of our lives.
Yep. So if you have time, we can always do another one.
I can do another one, sure. If you got something else?
Yes, I do.
Because this was, well, actually, we went the same hour as your first one, but yeah,
well,
I can do
yeah,
another.
that was by myself. I can't go as long.
Well, should we end and then just restart another so you have 1 hour episodes? I'm joking.
That's
man.
ridiculous. Let me see here. Let me figure out how to do this. Here we go.
We should get Jane out of retirement for this next one.
If there was something I could do to get Jane to come out of retirement, I would.
I know.
Instantly.
I never got. I don't think I ever actually got to stream with Jane.
You missed out.
We talk off stage quite a bit, but I don't know that I ever actually got to stream with her.
Elected officials are using fear as a tool. I know, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
So this one is I failed a right-wing philosophy
this is the same
class.
dude, huh? Okay.
Same guy, yeah. He's a winner.
Marxism, and I just failed.
Here we go.
I have a PhD in philosophy and used to teach college courses on Marxism, and I just failed a quiz in an online class on Marxism.
So not
socialism,
just socialism, Marxism.
Yeah, sorry, Marxism, right. Yeah, it's been a minute since I got through the first 2 minutes of this video. Actually, let me knock down this.
Actually, it would be fun to take this quiz.
Well, there's a whole online course
at Hillsdale College. So either I've gotten dumber, or this course is pedagogically designed not to teach or inform, but to indoctrinate people into a very specific right-wing ideology, one which ultimately argues for a white Christian ethno-state.
I know it seems like all of it, he has a real big problem with Christianity and Christians in general because of all the videos, because of the two that you've seen. But I'm gonna let you know, yeah, actually, the next video that is after this one or whatever is about how what is the right's obsession with having children and why it's leading to fascism. It's
because this sort of indoctrination is happening all over the place. Today, I'm going to look at this specific class so we can get some insight into how educational content is being used as a propaganda machine. Many of the ideas presented in this course were inaccurate, misinformed, or willfully misleading, but the thing
I got a little I don't want to spoil it, but when you look up some of the things he says are wrong, they're actually right.
that I found most shocking were the parts that I kind of agreed with.
At its core, socialism represents a very humane ideal. It's a system that is driven not by a desire to brutalize people, but to give them a good life.
But then they do stuff like this.
Right,
and
but we also believe in reality.
Marxist invented being trans.
The first transgender operation was conducted around 1930 in Germany in an institute run by cultural Marxists there.
Okay, so this is important to figure out who this dude is. His claim is
people, but
listen to his claim.
Them a good life.
But then they do stuff like this and imply that Marxist invented being trans.
His claim is, and then they imply that Marxist invented being trans, and then he plays a clip that is supposed to be the receipts.
The first transgender operation was conducted around 1930 in Germany in an institute run by cultural Marxists there.
That's true. I looked this up. Yes, it happened.
It literally says that cultural Marxist ran this experiment, but he's questioning whether
no
should be attributing it to cultural Marxism.
All the clip said was that one of the first transgender surgeries happened at this clinic that was ran by these cultural Marxists. His claim was that the class is saying that Marxists invented being transgender. That is not what.
But if the first surgery happened in a cultural Marxist clinic, isn't that the first time it happened?
It's one of the first surgeries happened here, but that's not saying that they invented it.
Also, I'd like to address real quick.
Oh, highlight chat if you need to.
I am. So Jane said, I think both sides could come together if they realize they're being played. I think we're in the middle of that in reality, because I think the coalition of all these guys from the left that came over to join Trump in this last election kind of is creating a coalition in the middle and abandoning the far right and the far left. I think both parties are in desperate trouble because MAGA is not Republican. It's absolutely not Democrat. But a lot of Democrats came into the fold in this last election. Whether that continues to hold true outside of Trump, I don't know. But I think that was an initial coming together of people.
I also am never going to play Elden Ring. But we are playing Dune together, Jane. Almost called her June.
Path of Exile 2 comes out. The new season comes out on the 4th.
Cool.
Coming up next week.
Yeah, cool. Very excited.
Yeah.
And like, listen, that'd honestly be cool. But I looked into the institute they're talking about. It was notably attacked by the Nazis, where they burned all the books. You know, I don't know if you want to be on the same team as the Nazis.
I recall Nazis hating communists.
Hold on, but he's like, I don't know if you want to be on the same side because of what they said. They said, here are facts. Fact: one of the first transgender surgeries happened at this place. Fact: it was ran by these cultural Marxists. And then he's like, you know, I looked up this place and it was attacked by Nazis. I don't know if you want to be on the same side as Nazis or not. What
action I could find with Marx was that
half of the world was aligned with cultural Marxists at that point. Because
it's just the idea that he's saying that this class, this course, who is aligned
I get
with
it, but
Nazis.
he seems so uninformed that, the Nazis hated the freaking communists. That was part of their platform. They were still socialist, but they were not communist. So the fact that he thinks that just because the Nazis attacked the communists is a point to make somewhere, I don't get it.
It's not a point.
Maybe I'm not understanding the point.
Right. No, what he's doing is he's saying that what he said was, I don't know if he's basically saying that the course that he is talking about is on the same side as Nazis. Listen to it again.
A lot of people were because they hated communism.
No, but this course that he's taking now, he's saying is on the same side as Nazis.
Current day?
Yes, the course that he's taking.
Now I understand now.
An institute run by cultural Marxists there.
And like, listen, that'd honestly be cool. But I looked into the institute they're talking about. It was notably attacked by the Nazis, where they burned all the books. You know, I don't know if you want to be on the same team as the Nazis. And the only connection I could find with Marx was that the Marxist writer Ernst Bloch once rented a room there.
That's also not true. It was ran by 3 cultural Marxists.
So there
which you learned in the course.
This isn't a mistake. The contradictions and inconsistencies of the course gave me some shocking insight into how.
Pause it real quick, because I get what you're saying about the institution, but I think he's talking about the institution that did the surgery. I think he's saying that you're aligning with Nazis if you were aligning against Marxism, because that's how much he believes in Marxism. But it's not current day. It was literally anybody who would align with being against Marxism is a Nazi. Is it going over my head? Let's continue.
What he's trying to say is that this course is aligning itself because it's quote unquote attacking this institute that did the transgender surgery by pointing out that it did a transgender surgery. And that is the same as if Nazis attacking and burning the books at that institution.
Okay. I just
that's how I read it. I could
about
be wrong.
The course. I just
this
think
entire video is about the course.
I think he's aligning anybody who's against communism as a Nazi.
Well, this whole entire video is about the course.
Okay.
How reactionary thinking works. And what's maybe more shocking is that, like I said before, the whole thing ends with a call for white Christian nationalism.
And here you could
Again, with the
going back
white
to
Christian
that?
nationalism. Yes.
look at, say, Federalist 2, where John Jay describes that you have a common people. They are rooted from a common ethnicity, use a common language, have the same religion.
Okay, so let me show you the course. There's 6 lessons, each with a final quiz, and you get a certificate if you complete everything, which I did. So now I'm a graduate of this course. Before we get into it, I want to talk.
I mean, you failed the test, though. Yeah.
Yeah, he shouldn't have a certificate.
About this video sponsor, Magic Spoon. As I've been getting older,
what?
I'm trying to get healthier. And a big
It's
part of
freaking
that
breakfast cereal.
Oh, yum.
Healthy breakfast cereal ad.
Create and protect human flourishing.
which they
Kept it
apply
under 3
to
minutes this
Marxist
time, though.
theory of communism.
The claim that communism leads inexorably to human flourishing must be evaluated.
But soon after this, they make a claim that points to the specter that's haunting the whole course.
The dream itself, complete abolition of human self-interest, is completely at odds with human nature.
But see, the problem is they
Yes,
don't
that's correct.
define human nature, which then means that they can't evaluate Marx's idea.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe they thought that by the time you get to this course, you should have an idea of what human nature is. Maybe they didn't want to break it down Barney style because they gave you more credit than what they should have.
Also, long before we got to the point of Hitler and fascism, Lenin had already given up on on actual Marxism because they had stores of food and people just stopped producing anything because they could just get to the stores until they ran out of food altogether. And Lenin said, this is not working. Also, they were taking women and having them be sex slaves in the early Marxism takeover of Russia or the USSR. It was at that point when Lenin turned against Marxism that Stalin took over and was ruling by killing everybody. So even the original Marxist, well, not original because that was Marx, but the original one who got a chance to implement it said, this isn't working. It's all in the Communist Manifesto.
Yep.
Is against this definition. Again,
Or
a
no, that's
definition
not
that
the book.
doesn't exist.
I'll think
and
of
my
the book.
most cherished
A definition that doesn't exist.
I guess I would assume that their definition of human nature is some libertarian notion in which we're all private entities driven by our own self-interest. The course also teaches us that
Real quick.
Marx and Engels.
Jane, it was some forced breeding, but it was also, since everybody is equal, you should have no women that are off limits to any level of man. That was what the communists actually believed, the Marxist communists in the early takeover of Russia. They believed, okay, well, you can just check out anyone, even if they are, highborn instead of lowborn, because it shouldn't be highborn ladies are off limits from anybody, because everybody was supposed to be equal. That's all I got.
Agreed.
Ideas were more vibes than they were facts.
They thought these are not simply our views or our passionately held beliefs, although they were, but these are scientific truths we're talking about.
So basically, when Marx does philosophy and economics, it's just like emotions and opinions.
Yes, it is. It's mostly vibes, motherfucker. That's why when you ask any self-proclaimed Marxist or communist, you're like, okay, well, show us where it's worked. Well, it's never really been tried before. That's the problem. No one's ever really tried it. Like how I envision it being tried. That's just vibes.
And the guy who envisioned all of it was one of the most lazy bums on the planet who completely left his family and tried to live a lavish lifestyle with his stupid thoughts that he thought everybody should adopt while he was doing none of it.
Literally all of their shit is based on vibes. That's why
It really is.
What did AOC
it's the facts over feelings, or feelings over facts. Type
AOC
crap.
said it's more important to be, what was it? it's more important to be empathetic than it is to be right. Something like that. I
Right.
think that may have been too smart. But she said something to the
Essentially
effect of
saying
that.
that facts don't matter. It's it's what people actually
feel.
But when
what
these
actually
guys-
happens to people matters, not what facts say happen.
the ones teaching the course do it, well, then we're doing facts and logic. And when they do try a more substantial critique, it honestly feels like a lazy misreading.
Marx's idea was freedom requires us to liberate ourselves from our own individuality and to see ourselves in terms of the larger community that we are part of. And that communal freedom, which is a kind of collective freedom, it requires what we would call today the abolition of private liberty.
Now,
yeah, that seems
Yes.
like it tracks with everything I know.
Because you stop doing anything for yourself and do it all for the society. But if you have no drive or ambition to do it, then everybody just stops doing it.
But he says that we're all misreading it.
The book was called The Naked Communist, that actually lays out everything that happened during that early time. And it was by a CIA operative, but we actually trusted them back then. So
here he's trying to be cute by rephrasing the abolition of private property as the abolition of private liberty. The implication is that Marx wants us to give up our individual freedom and ourselves for communal freedom. But as Marx himself writes in the German ideology, only in community with others has each individual the means of cultivating his gifts in all directions. Only in the community, therefore, is personal freedom possible.
people tried this.
But what's interesting is these brackets is as if he's cutting out a lot of context that's being said to make his counter.
But there were even, like when America was first founded, there were groups that came over and they tried to do communism, not knowing necessarily what communism was, but they were trying to do a communal society. And it was mostly Christian groups. Like it was churches that would found a city and then try to do a communal situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it failed every time, even amongst a Christian church.
Oh, yeah.
Because people would not work if they didn't have to work. They would let, 5% of the population do 100% of the work to try to make everybody else survive. Because if they're doing the work, why should I? And you know what happened? Every one of them failed. Every single time. If you don't have to work and somebody else will do the work for you, it's humankind will take the lazy way out unless they have something to actually strive for.
Yes.
Now, the reason that Marx can think about both freedom and dependence is because he is a dialectical thinker, which is something that this course never mentions.
Freedom means freedom from religion. We have to abolish religion itself in order for there to be true freedom. And that can only take place in terms of this radical transformation of the human condition in which we stop thinking ourselves as individuals and start thinking of ourselves as part of this other larger whole.
Where's the lie?
Now, I've talked about this a lot in the last couple of years, but Marx's critique of religion is really a critique of the underlying conditions of oppression and alienation that lead folks to seek hope in religion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that didn't happen throughout history before then.
This is the opiate of...
Oh, okay. You could have just said, I have to do this thing that you're going to go do. It's fine. We'll wait on him to come back. Let's look at what Chad is saying. Jane say never trust government. I agree. Unless I'm in the government, then you can trust me. I promise. And some countries is more normal than know what that's referring to. Simping. Let's see what Soul says. Make me wonder how close we. Not close at all. I agree. It's big over. That would be a big test to get. I guess that's why we have bills. Yeah. It says exploiting illegal immigrants in order to artificially suppress food prices, right? Isn't it in Florida where they were trying to pass a bill to where they would lower the uh like they're gonna modify the child labor laws to make up for the not having the immigrants there to do it, to basically slave labor. I don't know, maybe. If I make coffee, I might barf, but I want coffee. Yeah, seems like a thing. How long would it take for you to become corrupt, Matt? Well, when I was a cop, I just needed the opportunity, but it never came. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if Disney approached me, was like, "Hey, we'll give you this much money if you say that The Last Jedi is one of the greatest movies ever." Guess what? I will be having 4-hour video essays on The Last Jedi.
But that it is an interesting question, in that, like,
no, I haven't.
Well, as a cop, no, but like, if you actually did run for office, at what level of running for office does somebody get corrupted?
Look, I'll say this. I can't even, whenever I play a game and there's the meter of, like, if you do bad things, you become more bad, and good things, you know what I mean? Like the Paragon in the Renegade, like in Mass Effect. I find it almost impossible to be the bad guy, because I just feel icky whenever I do bad guy things. So
Meanwhile, in Conan, I turned as evil as possible.
Right, exactly, right? So if I was in politics at a political office, I just don't think I have it in me to actively and knowingly, consciously do things that are corrupt, or do things that are against my own beliefs, if that makes sense. If I'm being real.
But even so, I guess it also depends on what the definition of the corruption is, because, like, Jane's saying about the Russia stuff, like, there was the whole thing with, so it's not illegal to take money from a foreign country in investment to do a YouTube channel. But I think the level of corruption would be where you're taking money and they then tell you what you're supposed to say.
Right.
If you're taking an investment from a foreign country and you're still saying what you actually believe, maybe that's what they wanted you to spout. I don't know. But, we had the whole situation with Tenet Media last year. And it's like, okay, but if none of them actually changed what they were already saying, then were they corrupted by Russian money? Because how is it any different than Canadian money or Mexican money or UK money coming in as an investment? Because it's not inherently illegal to take money from another country to invest in your enterprise.
So for me, I have a problem. I don't know if this may be news to some of you. I have a problem with authority. Always have. I don't like being told what to do, especially if I know I'm right. If they're wrong, I will say something. So I don't think I could go along with someone.
And Mad just left the stream somehow. I think my point is, if somebody is paying you, but they're not telling you what you have to say.
What I have to say and yeah, sorry. I accidentally pressed the back button on my.
Yes, you did.
On my mouse. Never happened. First time that has ever happened to me. So embarrassing. First time. This never happened before.
I carried the stream.
Thank you. But so a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, when the whole everybody came out, not everybody, but there was a lot of quote unquote right wing influencers coming out like, oh, I think if you have food stamps, you should be able to drink soda, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
and they were all being
obviously a movement.
It was perfect because it shows you who's real and who's not. Like, it was a good thing that it happened.
Right, because that absolutely took down a whole bunch of the right wingers that would obviously sell themselves out. And
they did. And they got what they got.
Yeah, and I don't think people are going to necessarily stop following them, because...
Which is weird, man.
It is. But, I mean, part of me says, yeah, now I know to be suspect of them because of that specific instance. But part of me also says a lot of breaking news does go through them. I mean, it's like I was saying on Sunday last week, I do not like this whole influencer group because I would like to be at the level that they are at some point talking politics, but I don't want to be considered an influencer. I want to be talking about the things that I want to talk about. And if that comes with, having to do a stupid ad about, I would like everybody on food stamps to be able to buy soda, which is obviously not a nutritious thing for you, and food, taxpayer money shouldn't be going towards anything other than basic nutrition, then I don't want to be a part of that. But it's like, at what point do you get to that point? And I don't know. I would like to think I would not compromise, but
I wouldn't.
There are quite a few people that would be like, you throw me 6 figures or 7 figures, and I'll say anything.
I see, that's why you need
I don't
me. I'd
think
keep
I
you
would
in
be
check.
like that. I think it's kind of like you've said about the military. You don't know what you're going to do until that actually is
yeah, for sure,
pointed at you.
Yeah, I feel like I know what I would do, because I guess I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
That's just me.
It's an
The
interesting
masses stuff.
side.
Marx isn't saying
is.
that
side thing.
religion is bad. Marx is saying that the world is bad. The world is soulless, and it leads to the need for religion. And his vibe is like, guys, what if the world was just great and we didn't need that? What if the
Sounds like he's talking about vibes, huh?
conditions of social and economic life were...
I mean, half of the idea of religion in almost all religions is a need for rules, because most religions do label people as inherently evil. So you have to lay out rules. So if you just get rid of religion and get rid of rules, then everybody is doing whatever the hell they want.
Yes, that's what I found out. I don't like being told what to do. Yeah.
Matt joins the two things that tell you everything you must do every day.
Yep.
And it was at the price of a t-shirt.
Yeah, well, no. So the police, though, that you had more autonomy, because you got to choose where you, as long as you're in your sector, right? Like there wasn't there's no quotas or anything like that. But
were there really not?
No, there's really not. Even because that would be illegal.
Basic traffic cops.
Yes, that would be illegal. Now, what does happen?
It would
though,
be illegal, but are there wink winks?
No, there's not wink winks. The only way that you can kind of say that there's quotas is that if you're in the traffic section, right? If you're a traffic cop, when you're evaluated on performance, it's going to be based on things that you're supposed to be doing as a traffic cop, right? So as a traffic cop, your focus will be on enforcing traffic laws, investigating DWIs, whatever, depending on how they're set up, collision investigations and stuff like that. So if you can show that you are enforcing traffic law, by writing these many citations, and it's not even the citations, but it's about making these many stops. You know what I mean? That will be part of it. But there's no quota to it. There's no, you have to have this many by the end of your shift or anything like that.
So if you made the appropriate amount of stops, but it gave everybody a warning, there wouldn't be a issue with that?
Well, there's no appropriate amount either, because all of that can also be offset by how many investigations you do into collisions, how many wrecks, that you go to, how many DWIs, whatever. All of that, it all plays a part in the overall investigation.
I would think there would be a comparison to the average of everybody else who is doing the same job.
Yes and no, because it can vary so much from shift to shift, from
day shift, night shift.
Yeah, of course.
Because you get a lot more DUIs at night, obviously. But do you guys flip shifts like firefighters do?
Do we do what?
So firefighters will be like 6 months they're on the day shift, 6 months they're on the night shift.
No.
You guys don't flip shifts?
Nope.
Okay.
No, fuck that. I would hate it too, man. Because day shift, bro, everybody's sober. They remember all the dumb shit you say to them. Not my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know with you.
Like, yeah, that would always happen when I would pull overtime for day shift, and they would remember dumb things I say.
Or such that you didn't have to go to church to feel good. You still go to church if you want, but you wouldn't have to. That's the idea here. Now, another thing I've talked about before is how
I don't
Marx's
think the
thought
abolishment
is
of religion
dialectical.
says you can still go to church if you want to. We're seeing that in live action in Ukraine right now.
Well, yeah, well, he's saying that, no, Marx was really saying that, hey, if we could fix all the underlying problems with the world, like oppression and suffering, then people wouldn't have to go to church. But you still could if you wanted to.
Super chat.
Have I like this, a 5 machismo bucks. Have you given another cop a ticket? Absolutely not. I never would. I find it abhorrent when I hear of such things. They're not liked by anybody when they do that kind of shit. Yeah, no, that's just not something that I would do, because I know that when I've been pulled over and was still a cop, I was let go more than. How's that corruption? It's called it's not corrupt. Oh boy, you know what? We're done with this video because we're at 1:30. I don't want.
I do have a funny story about that, though.
Hold on, I gotta address this first. It's not corruption. It's called a
brotherhood.
No. It is a courtesy. It is a what is it? A professional courtesy between officers. That's
She's
what it
laughing
is.
at you.
Good Lord.
I did have.
Hold on. Last thing. Listen, it is no different than someone who works at a donut shop taking donuts home at the end of the day. No one's saying you have to pay for those donuts. It's the same thing. When cops get pulled over by other cops, they don't get a ticket because that's the same as taking home donuts or any other food if you work at a food place.
So when I managed Papa John's,
it's not a quid pro quo. We're not getting anything from them. Nothing is exchanged.
So as professional drivers that pizza delivery drivers are,
right?
I had a driver who got a ticket for not signaling early enough to get into the left turn hand lane.
Oh, he got pulled over by a dick.
Correct. But this driver decided that he was going to then let the cop get in front of him afterwards. And he then proceeded to log about 10 things the cop did wrong and try to do a citizen's arrest style
How'd that
ticket.
go?
By the time he called me an hour and a half later on his delivery, his license was essentially revoked because he got so many tickets, because the cop then decided, I'm going to pull you over for every violation until you get back to the store. So the guy had like 30 tickets by the time he got back to the store, which basically, invalidates your license. You've got so many points.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
Your license is gone. So I had to fire the guy because it's like, well, you've got no license anymore. So you're not a delivery driver.
No, listen. Okay. But here's where he failed, because when a cop does it, it is not illegal. I know how that sounds. Okay. But there is logic behind it. All right. There are reasons why we aren't held to those same standards. It sounds bad when you say it out loud.
It sounds a lot like
but
people
it's
taking
not
Russian money
when we do it.
Podcasters.
Not at all. No, listen, if I don't use my turn signal, there was a reason I didn't use the turn signal.
If I turn on my lights just through the red light and then turn them off immediately after I get through the red light, that's not a problem.
See, what that's called code 2, right? You have code 1, which is basically just get to, if you're being dispatched, code 1, just get there as quickly as you can. Code 2 is use sirens and lights when necessary. So when you're coming up to a red light, that's when you turn on your lights, you turn on your siren to get through that intersection and turn it back off and continue going. Code 3 is when you're running lights and siren the entire way there.
Meanwhile, I have no codes. And when I'm at a protected left-hand turn signal and it cycles 4 times through without ever giving me a green, and then I finally decide to go at 2 a.m. in the morning and I get pulled over, that would be a ticket.
It depends on who pulls you over. All right. That if you get pulled over by traffic, yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're of course going to give you. But me, I didn't even have a ticket book because if I'm pulling you over, it's not because I want to write you a ticket. It's because I think you're doing something shady. Because I work nights, remember? So it's like 3 a.m. What are you doing rolling around this way? Or 2, I just got done watching something on Netflix. I need to talk on the radio so people know I'm not asleep or dead.
You really don't want to finish the video?
Nah, fuck that. I'm done.
All right.
Mads is revealing everything. So much corruption. You guys are talking about
Soul
professional
Assassin's
courtesies.
rolling down his window going, wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo.
A dude may let you go a woman you're getting a ticket. It's to plant drugs. No. Listen, it's not
Isn't she
worth
a lawyer?
Yes. It's not worth. This is what I don't get about people thinking like, oh man, cops are planting drugs and covering up for each other. What the fuck? No, man, we got bills to pay and shit. We're not risking our livelihood just to punk some dude on the street that we don't even know. We're not gonna pull over some random
that
dude.
already have drugs in their cars.
It's
on the
not that hard to
streets.
find them. My God, it's called criminal profiling. Sprinkle some crack on them. Sometimes you have to make the evidence yourself to give you time to find the evidence. Does that make sense?
Absolutely not.
What I'm saying is sometimes you have to plan a gun to give you more time to find the gun.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Throw a bullet into their trunk so that you can then search for the gun.
Oh yeah, that's actually pretty smart. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
wouldn't
No,
give
that'd be
them
hard to
the gun
justify.
because that gives them a gun.
Mm. Yeah. But that's just because I told you had a gun, and then you try to find the real gun that he did have, and then you switch it out. It's not that it's not corrupt. It's about giving you time to do the best honest job you can.
Yes.
Not minorities, criminals. It's criminal profiling, not race profiling at all. Don't actually see. That's why body cameras fucked up everything, dude. Being a cop was so much fun before then.
You can never leave the camera accidentally on. They have an error every time you actually make
like even in the
pull
car
over somebody or
the patrol cameras or whatever inside the vehicle, those will turn on automatically when you hit your lights or some shit.
Right.
To teach the person to be a better person. Sometimes, agreed. I'm just saying, these things. Look, these are important. People misread cops' actions.
It's important to
all the
remember
time.
that Matt is not corruptible.
I'm not. You can't corrupt me. Only I can do that. Does that make sense?
You got corrupted last year.
What happened last year?
You did a genocide on caterpillars.
Oh, the caterpillars. They deserved it. They're the most dangerous caterpillars in the world. They deserved it. Plus, I got a new toy, so I had to use it.
Still a genocide.
Well, I don't give a shit. They learned their lesson. Hopefully, they won't be back next year. We'll see.
Hopefully, the lefties don't learn about your genocide.
By the way, I got to restock on CO2 caps. What are they called? The capsules or whatever. In more salt rounds because I ran out. That's the level of genociding that I did.
Well, you better have them by June when you come to visit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not getting penetrated by another wasp in your presence.
How many did I? Well, one, you would have to define how they were fucked over. 2, I don't know what that would have to do with Iraq. So that doesn't seem, dude. There was this one call where the buddy I was working with, we were working at a subsection station, right? Small one. And you have to rotate out there sometimes. Anyway, he comes in, he's like, listen, he goes, Mad, because that's my name, that's what he called me. I don't want you to freak out, but some security guards can stop these 2 Arabic men with wires going from their engine to inside of the car with phones hooked up to it, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, we should probably get out there. He's like, I just didn't want you to. I'm like, bro, no, it's not that big of a deal. I'm fine. Let's go. It was FBI came involved. I don't know how much I can talk about it, but fuck it. Like Homeland Security, I think, got involved in this shit too. They said that they were.
Well, wait. Why would FBI and Homeland Security be involved? They're for here.
What? Who's for here?
CIA would be over there.
This was here.
This was here? I thought you said a substation in Iraq.
No.
I missed part of the story then.
Yeah, no. When I was a cop, I was working a smaller station.
Oh, I
so
thought
there
you were
wasn't a lot of this
talking about when you were in Iraq, because that's what he said.
No,
you highlighted a thing about when you were in Iraq.
Fucked over because of what happened in Iraq.
Okay.
Meaning,
all right, I missed.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, they said that they were mapping for 6G or some dumb shit that's not even around. And
it would cause cancer anyway.
Yeah, it was just a big mess, and their shit didn't line up with when we ran them in the system. It was a whole big thing. But I do tan.
Matt does not tan.
I know I can get
the sun.
No, that's true because of the burns. But before the burns, I did get a really dark tan.
I imagine that, but I've also seen you with the burns, and you're not getting a tan over a good portion of the body.
That is true. But
maybe the
anyway,
face and the ankles.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like my calves if I'm in the sun, but I'm not gonna be in the sun like that anyway.
Maybe the calves.
Yeah. You got anything? What are you doing next?
You going on with usual stuff through the week? Yeah. Comics Monday. Tuesday we do your show here on Mad's new channel. I don't know what we're talking about yet.
I don't either.
We will talk about it. And then Wednesday we've got Christian panel and the midweek hump, Carrie Smith, and then Shags. And then my channel, I do bourbon and boarding on Saturday. And when the internet doesn't go out, I do the bullpen on Sunday, because we didn't do one this morning.
Oh, really? Because the internet went out?
Xfinity sent me a text at 8 a.m. said, internet outage. We expect it to be resolved by 11:55, which would be when my show ends. By the time we got internet back, it was 3 o'clock. So yeah, it was long gone. Chad was like, just wait for it. Just wait for it. Just wait for it. I was like, it's over, dude. So
I believe you meant terrific, not terrifying, but that's all right though, Jane. It's late.
Yeah, it's just spell check.
Yeah, spell check. Yeah, I'm sure it was autocorrect. You know what I mean? Because you're normally talking about all the other shows are terrifying. When mine, you meant to say terrific. But anyway, that's it for me. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out.
Machiavelli production.
Listen now, Mr. Kansas law dog. Law don't go around here. Savvy? Yeah. Yeah, that's real good, law dog, because law just don't go around here.
They keep on calling me, want me to put it down. Oh, baby, run to me, don't go from smile to frown. Hey, law dog, law don't go around here. And I say, hey, law doggy, law don't go around here. You're no daisy at all. And I say, hey, law doggy, law don't go around here. You're no daisy at all.
I want you to know it's over.